You're sitting here, we're talking about the movie, and of course we're covering Baltimore.
That's right.
What is your reaction to all of this?
My reaction to it is like, I caught a lot of flack for the hashtag adapt, and what I'm looking at,
hashtag
adapt.
Adapt.
Is that what I'm
Chris
seeing the people in
Rock's.
Baltimore
Yes.
is that they have adapted by striking back. And that's the only thing that you can hear. People want to call it riots. I call it self-defense. There is something, obviously, people want to debate the end result, but not talk about the cause. And the cause is that we don't have answers. It's taking much too long to find out what happened to Freddie Gray.
So I have this question for you while we're discussing this. This isn't like other incidents. This is Baltimore.
That's right.
You have an African-American mayor, police commissioner, chief of police, city council, majority police force.
It's not like Ferguson.
It's not like Ferguson, and you would think, well, this would allow better communications, especially with the community. And yet, this situation is blowing up.
Steve, that's a good context. Good context.
But what am I missing?
Yeah, just because you have African Americans in the minority, as you just said, it's not the same thing. The thing is that you have SWAT trucks, and the National Guard called in much faster into this community than you have a food truck. And a truck that's going to bring about jobs and education. I remember when I was growing up, you used to have the booster shot truck used to come in and give everyone, inoculate everyone. They stopped that. I would like to see trucks going in providing opportunities because this recession is so hard on us, on everyone. So whether you've got a black, red, yellow person in charge that's representing that ethnic group doesn't mean it's going to change because the circumstances in those neighborhoods have not changed.
And people would say, yeah, root cause, all those things going on there.
Right.
But meanwhile, people are torching businesses that belong to minority people. People are knocking down infrastructure, only hurting themselves.
George Washington did the same thing with the Boston Tea Party, sir. And England never recovered from it.
Well, yeah, I mean, George Washington actually didn't have much to do with the Tea Party, but I get your point.
But you get the point.
I get your point.
The revolution started because someone had enough. And at that time, people were fighting against taxation.
But there's something else that happens here. I think people are very sympathetic with what happened with Freddie Gray because there are no answers. This poor guy gets taken in a police van and he's dead. All right, his spine is broken. There's a lot of sympathy for people who are sometimes on the fence which way to go with the police versus community issues. This puts them back on the other side of the fence.
Well, the issue, Steve, is that two rights don't make a wrong. That's obvious. But all wrongs without accountability makes everything wrong. You've got a group of people here that I'm a part of that never received their 40 acres and a mule. We never have the president talk about dignity, security, and progress and reconciliation with the Japanese president, whereas many, many moons ago, they bombed with an atomic bomb in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. These people can go across the Pacific and have reconciliation and talk about dignity and security today, but we can't do it domestically.
So if you were there in Baltimore right now, what would you be saying to people?
To the community there.
To everybody. Yeah.
What I would be saying is that we need to talk about the denial of what has been going on in this country. If you don't talk about the denial, then that cancer is going to continue to grow. Now, these people don't own anything. If they had ownership and shareholders were shareholders in CVS, then they wouldn't burn it down.
They wouldn't burn it down.
If they had ownership in the places that they were leasing or renting, they wouldn't burn it down.
You saw the mother beating up her kid there because she saw him on TV throwing the rock.
What do you think about that?
What was your reaction to that?
I just kept thinking of the boys in Gaza Strip, in Palestine, in Israel. And you don't see the mothers coming out beating up their sons for expressing themselves. Now, was it the right to assemble? We have that under the constitutional right. Riots are just the language of the unheard. And I appreciate the mother wanting to protect her son, but we have to look at that. When I was in the military, if war had gone on at 18 and 19 years old, my mother couldn't come to Iraq. Mothers can go to Iraq and protect their sons and stop them from fighting for what they believe in. So I have mixed emotions about that particular
All right,
context.
one more thing, and we'll get back to, although I don't want to get
How
back
are we going
to
to get back to Blackbird? How can we
I don't know.
Hashtag we are Blackbird. When I look at what's happening in Baltimore, I look at what is happening with the dignity being taken from gay African-American men, gay men, women, period. If we continue to allow our dignity then to be challenged and to be ignored, then we will have no security.
But question, people want people to get their full dignity. I mean, most of us we want that to work. Right. We may not understand, we may not culturally understand what people are going through. But you look at this scene and you say, what is constructive and what is destructive? And people watch this, and it only seems destructive.
Counterproductive.
They only watch what no one is seeing, what's happening on Wall Street. No one is seeing what the banks are doing.
But they're not going to see it. They're not going to see it.
Because that's the proverbial problem. We don't want to deal with this recession. Even the media doesn't want to deal with the 1%. This is just an end result of a much bigger problem.
Would you be throwing rocks if we were in high school there now?
Probably.
And would you feel justified, or would you later on say, what was I doing?
No. I was in the military, and I was trained to throw bullets. I was trained to throw bombs.
But not at your own people.
It's not a question. These are not, those law officers are doing their jobs, and they're doing it very well.
Yeah.
This is not a police issue. This is a larger issue. I would have really felt really proud if President Obama, metaphorically, would have talked about Baltimore before he addressed this wonderful Japanese
I get your point. Reconciliation with an enemy. What about reconciliation with our friends, with our own people?
That's right.
But it doesn't work that way, does it?
Why shouldn't it?
Well, it doesn't work that way.
Why? We the people, inalienable rights is in the Constitution.
Yeah, but it depends who's interpreting the Constitution. You have this situation here where
it depends on who's interpreting the Constitution.
It's always.
I raised my hand to fight to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. It's for all the people,
no,
right?
What I'm
is
saying,
it not, or is it some of the people?
What I'm saying is, if you're interpreting the Constitution, freedom of expression stops when you throw a rock, doesn't it?
No, of course, that's breaking the law. That's breaking the law. But you have the right to assemble. You have the right to assemble petitions. These are Bill of Rights. But now habeas corpus went out the window. No one said anything when President Bush was in office. So the people are wanting to be heard. Martin Luther King said clearly that riot is the language of the unheard. And if you want to continue to ignore it, even Gore Vidal said this is the United States of amnesia.
Yeah.
We have to go back and deal with the fact that we never got our 40 acres and a mule. And there's a host of things that have never happened. We can't sit back and look at it and say, oh, wow, look how destructive those people are.
But you also understand, most people in history didn't get 40 acres and a mule. Most people in history don't get that.
That is something that was promised.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand.
And it was reneged on.
I'm speaking metaphorically, and you're very comfortable with metaphors.
Yeah.
Most people in life don't get 40 acres and a mule.
But you have to start. You can't. That's just like someone. If you're not compliant, you come to me. I'm not a doctor, but I played one. But you come to me and you say you're suffering from symptoms of maybe cancer. I tell you you have cancer. You say, no, I want a second or a third opinion. You get the same answer, that third opinion, and you decide to go into denial. You're not compliant. You don't get to seek any treatment, any radiation care. You will die. That is what is happening here in the United States of amnesia. You are not dealing with the cancers that were created hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And until you deal with that, it is not just a knee-jerk reaction to put a bunch of people of color and go look at them, look how criminal they're being.
What's the first step? How do you
even
get started?
The first step is to admit what wasn't done, what the justice, the injustice from the beginning, after the Emancipation Proclamation. If you apologize on American soil, which the head of state, the president, will never do because that's admitting to human rights crimes.
Let's go to the next step.
That's the beginning of reconciliation.
Was reconciliation also part of reparations? Would they be part of it?
Yeah.
That's a mixed bag. I don't know enough about reparations, but I know that that's something that's being brought up again. I think reparations will come in the form of free education for those who have built this country.
Are people watching you right now
that's
saying,
right.
oh, geez.
That's a problem.
Yeah,
they're saying, oh, Jesus.
It's 150 years ago.
No.
Live the future, don't live the past. Don't condemn yourselves to repeating over and over again the negative experience.
No.
The people who did that were 12 generations ago.
That's unfortunate because 12 generations ago, if you are part of a process and you're part of a system that you're benefiting from all of that capital that was made during that time, then you're not going to have peace. It's not easy for you to take a position and go, oh, God, that was a very long, long time ago if you're benefiting from chattel slavery, even today.
And by the way, we got to wrap it here. I do want to make one comment.
Steve, I can't believe we got into this, but I'm glad we did. I love you for it. Hashtag We Are Blackbird. In the theaters right now.
Yeah, screw the movie. I want to talk about it. One of the great disappointments for me in my lifetime, because I've been around a while, is to think when I was a kid, if you told me that all these years in the future, race would be such a big issue and things would not have been resolved, if not totally satisfactory enough for everybody to get on.
You know why?
Why?
Coretta Scott King, according to Ambassador Young, told me that Coretta Scott King told Martin Luther King, if you did not take the civil rights movement across the Atlantic to Africa, 50 years from now, we will be exactly where we are and worse. If you do not develop the people that were taken from that land and brought here against their will and support them and strengthen them across the Atlantic, we're going to be right where we are today and worse.
All right,
She was right.
those are the words of Isaiah Washington.
Those are the words of Coretta Scott King.
Those are the words of you quoting Coretta Scott King.
Recited by Isaiah Washington. Blackbird is now playing.
Oh, there's a movie?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know. On the side
we
note,
are Blackbird.
I just wanted to quickly ask why you travel around with this big banner.
Oh my gosh!